It's the junior senator from the great state of Texas, Ted Cruz. Ted, yeah, he's going to go to Congress. He's going to go to you guys, and you're going to probably say no, and he's going to do it anyway. In Syria or in Libya, he didn't even go to you guys. Now, the thing is, he really, really wants to go and take part in something in Syria. But the problem that these military members that I mentioned off the top, and the problem that I have, and many people listening have, we don't know who the bad guys are, Ted. We have no idea who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. And it turns out in Libya, we actually were launching strikes, and we knocked Gaddafi out by taking the side of, like it or not, CBS News reported this, of the rebel forces that included members of Al-Qaeda. Are we supporting Al-Qaeda in Syria too? What's going on? Who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy?
Well, the unfortunate reality is there are a whole lot of bad guys there. And, the president has been advocating arming the rebels in Syria. I think that's a strategy that makes no sense whatsoever.
Right.
Of the 9 major rebel groups that are fighting right now, at least 7 of them appear to have some significant ties to Al-Qaeda. And I'll give you one of the simplest principles of foreign policy that we ought to be following, which is don't give weapons to people who hate you. Don't give weapons to people who want to kill you.
Well, that's silly, Ted. Come on. What you're saying is don't give them weapons so they can turn around and use them on you? Really? It's crazy. It's Senator Ted Cruz, and you're right, because what happened in Libya, we don't want to repeat that. We backed up a rebel force that had no chance of winning. Gaddafi was going to snuff that uprising out in 2 seconds. We, or the president, decided, let's lob some missiles in there and basically pave the way for the rebels to take over. Not that many months later, they attacked our consulate. They killed 4 Americans, including the ambassador, and we still don't really know what happened in Benghazi. Nobody wants to see another Benghazi in Syria, and that's really the fear, isn't it?
Look, I think that's exactly right, but there's a broader problem. This administration, when it conducts foreign policy, it doesn't do so focused on U.S. national security interest. If you listen to the discussions of Syria, what Secretary Kerry and the White House keep talking about are what they describe as international norms have been violated, and we've got to go defend international law. Well, you know what? We're not the security force for the United Nations, and even the UN doesn't think that anything should happen here.
Right.
But more broadly, look, our military exists for one purpose, and that is to protect the vital national security interests of the United States of America. And, the point you made about not arming Al-Qaeda, if you're focused on U.S. national security, that point is obvious.
Right.
Likewise, it appears what the president is pressing for is essentially protecting his public relations because he drew a red line and essentially the bluff was called.
Right.
Now there are arguable U.S. national security interests in Syria, the most notably the presence of substantial chemical weapons, and it is not in our interest to have those weapons fall into the hands of terrorists or Al-Qaeda who could use them against us or our allies. But at least to date, the president hadn't focused on that at all. Instead, it's been on making a public statement to defend international norms, and I think that is missing the point entirely.